Hello, everyone. Welcome to our next podcast. It's Exploring AI with Mohit Sharma, who's a researcher and innovator. And basically, Mohit, how are you?
I am good, Tim. It's absolute pleasure meeting you today.
Thank you so much. So, Mohit, can you tell us about your career journey and how it led to you becoming a leader in the AI field?
Sure, it's a very interesting story. It's more like those kind of eulogies you hear about that wherever your destiny has to take you, it will actually shape you in that way. And as Steve Jobs used to say, that you can connect the dots backward, you can never connect it forward. So I started in the year 2002 in a pretty much CRM domain. Uh, Customer relationship management. Spent a couple of years over there, then moved into Lean Six Sigma. So that's where the actual grinding into the statistical methodologies, your linear techniques, or regression analysis, normality testing. What happens into the background of AI today? That kind of I got grounded in it. Did a lot of consulting, changed organizations. Have worked with Capgemini, Genpact, Accenture, IBM. Worked with a startup as well for a brief period of time, and I was evolving. So I started into a process domain, understood the domain side of the scheme of things, then moved to technology, designed a couple of products and solutions as well. Did the end-to-end product management, right from user requirement capture to getting the final release rolled out, getting it filed as a patent as well. Seen the entire journey. But it has been an accelerating 23 years ride, and in the interim I got opportunities to upskill myself. I did ACMS EGMA, which is a accountancy qualification, because majority of the stuff that I did, I think I would say 15 years of the 23 I spent in finance and accounting. And then did enterprise architecture, TOGAF related credentials as well. So it's been an exciting journey. Have traveled the world, practically every single continent, have seen and met thousands of people, have worked on some of the very complex projects. So yeah, but I still believe there is still a lot more to learn. And when I was thinking I am done with all of this, then we heard about generative AI and the process begins again. So that's where we are.
Fantastic. So, what inspired you to pick AI as a field uh, in terms of expertise, and how have your previous experience influenced your current role, and what is your vision for the future?
So this is a very good question, Tim. I'll just spend a couple of minutes on this as well. So try to see it. I don't see it as an artificial intelligence, because there is not. It is the human arrogance to say we are original and you are artificial because we have created you. Okay. I believe it. Initially, we shape our tools and then our tools shape us. And that's the risk part of it as well. And I'm sure we will be talking about it during the conversation as well, the risks with AI, as to what kind of future risks exist with AI. Many people are talking about it. And the more they are talking about it, the further away they are from piloting these technologies into their business or their organization. So for me, this was this entire attraction was around augmentation of capabilities. So as I said, my journey started in core operations. Then I moved into kind of consulting kind of roles, where I faced a lot of situations where the client were not able to get the results that they want and that they deserve, because of issues with the operational processes and the kind of challenges that operations throw on them. That's when the story got really interesting, and that's where I had to innovate on my feet. That was the kind of roles I did. There was nobody. I was literally alone, a single representative of my company into those situations. I had to put innovation on the feet. There was hardly any time, and build a lot of augmentation capabilities. Started with very base level technologies, then got into natural language processing, then got into started exploring more. Did a fraud prevention product. So I built a fraud prevention product for business email compromise. That was an exciting one. That's where I learned maximum about AI. I still say I'm still learning, because I still read a lot. I still spend a lot of time. I'm doing even a kind of a formal course from MIT on the AI and ML, deep learning, and all those different concepts. But for me, the most exciting part was the kind of augmentation this technology can provide you. Right. So try to see it like this. We are bodies of limitations. We have limitations in ourselves. We cannot look all at the same time. I have a home here. I might have another home 1,500 miles away. Know here what is happening over there this moment in time. Can I know what is happening in my office and in my other home this moment in time? Can I get a summary of that? What is happening over there? What kind of risks are there? Similarly, I might have assets across the globe. Let's say I have warehouses. Can I know what are the different challenges associated with those warehouses? Can I keep an eye and ears on them all at the same time? No, I cannot. As a human, I cannot. That's where the augmentation. So for me, in the word AI, it's not artificial, it is augmented intelligence. So I am whatever capabilities, core capabilities I am born with as a human, I have used technology as a medium of articulation and augmented them. And there is a definitive business value, especially if you are into consulting or a product development company. There is tremendous business value if you know how to do this. There is tremendous business value you can create. So for me, the excitement starts, it started much before actually the advent of these technologies like generative AI. And generative AI basically made it more mainstream from a discussion standpoint. We were dealing with AI much before that. So I'm sure you must have heard about Amazon's anticipative order management. Like you are just thinking about a product and the Amazon guy is just knocking on your door, asking, "Are you interested in taking it? Because I believe you might be looking for it." And you immediately say, "Wow, this is exactly what I am trying to do." This patent was done in 2013 by Amazon. So this is not something which is new, but the computational capacity in order to make it work was not there.
Yeah.
So if there is a real miracle, that miracle is with the kind of stuff that with GPUs that NVIDIA is doing. That's the real miracle. So my interest was around this augmentation as to where how far you can take the human potential, what all you can do. If I just take a very classic example of finance, if a human can process 1,000 invoices per month, or let's say 1,000 invoices per month, and is able to process 12,000 invoices per year. If I put a AI augmented kind of capability, the ratio becomes 250,000 invoices per year. So just see the difference. So there is, if I have to expand my business, I have to think about adopting these augmented technologies, these kind of augmented intelligence to enable my people to carry that extra workload. So that is a very exciting part. Obviously, with excitement comes will always come some cautions, because the data sets, the data that we talk about, the world doesn't have clean data currently. The world was not ready for this kind of technology. Blockchain came, I think, 10, 15 years ago, and it was thought out that in the world of distributed ledgers, there will be no need for kind of enabling technologies, because everything will be a single version of truth. If that was possible, AI would have been a revolutionary tech today. But that did not happen, unfortunately, from an adoption standpoint, governance standpoint, and the way we are seeing it. In the future also, it will take a lot of time. There is a lot that has to happen from a vision of AI standpoint. You are just at the starting point. You are just looking at a very beginning of the tunnel. You do not know where this tunnel is leading to. So that's a part that is going to be very exciting. I am excited because this is the right time to be an innovator. You have the resources available, you have the industrialization available, you have the access to different open source algorithms, libraries, repositories, different models. You can do a lot. This is the right time to be an innovator. That's my excitement. I hope that addresses the question that you had.
Thank you. So, what are the most significant challenges businesses face in financial operations today? And how can AI address these issues?
This is a very good question, very close as well, because this is an area where I have spoken with a lot of executives, and I keep on doing it as part and parcel of my role. From the lens that I see it as an AI researcher and somebody who has been involved with emerging technologies for a significant amount of time and have played around with them as well. The biggest challenge is we are in the middle of a poly crisis, especially after COVID. So a lot of adverse events happening all at the same time. If you speak to any business leader, you talk about their revenue numbers, their market forecast, their predictability, their cash forecasting, their production planning, everything. They were based on certain static assumptions, but those assumptions do not hold true because the whole world around those assumptions has changed in the interim by the time you are making use of those statistics. So the biggest challenge today is the sync up between financial data and operational data. There is no single version of the truth. It's not even possible to have a single version of the truth. It's very complex to get a single version of truth. If you speak to any CFO, I'm pretty much sure you have spoken to some and you will be speaking as part of your podcast. they will tell you a single transaction will pass through at least 10 different systems, which means the version of the data changes from one system to another the moment it transitions. This is a very big problem for the world today. Now comes the risk environment. So if you look at cybersecurity, you look at data privacy, you look at fraud. I'm sure it will not come as a surprise that the overall global fraud that happens, financial fraud, finance and accounting related fraud, it is 485.6 billion US dollars per year. So great potential for people who want to be a threat actor into the future. But it's the risk which keeps these CFOs and these financial VPs and these leaders awake. This is something which is very crucial for them. What is the reliability into the numbers? This is very crucial to them based on the history of the world, especially with 2002, 2008, the way we have uh, created this history, they have a good reason to worry. Now, when it comes to AI, so AI can make finance function, especially as a very strategic enabler for the business rather than being a transaction processor and generator of the data. So you are not just posting and processing transactions, which is a repetitive activity, but that part you can easily transfer to AI and create a human machine partnership where the human is helping out with the decision intelligence based on the insights which the AI is generating. And AI's biggest job. So there is always this AI can do this, we can do prediction, forecasting, clustering, generating text, generating images, thousand different things AI can do. It has been used very broadly. But if you ask me, in my opinion, AI has just one role, and that role is prediction. So in currently, if you see the different technology stacks across large businesses, you will have a system of record used for compute and storage, for putting the stuff on, putting the transactions on, taking out the reports. You will have some modern platforms over and above it. You will have some analytics above it. You do not have a system of prediction. That's something where AI can play a significant role. So if I have an AI as a CFO, which is able to tell me which are the specific parts of the world I have an overstock situation and which is expiring fast, I will be able to take some right decisions for my supply chain in that moment. But this has to be real time. There cannot be a data between a lag between when I need this information and when I'm getting this information. So AI can play the role of decision intelligence, which is a very crucial capability by using the ability to predict things in advance, accurately, of course, and then provide these insights and make them available across the board to the different stakeholders. So more in a single version of Truthway. So that's going to be a very big help. And considering the fact that we will have these business disruptions happening. So first it was COVID, then we saw supply chain, then we saw geopolitical, then we saw some regions of the world going at war all at the same time. Everything has an impact in a globalized economy on your business. So you need certain ability to predict and respond and react. You don't have 6 weeks to prepare an analysis and then decide what to do. So that's where we are.
How do you feel AI is transforming the way businesses operate, particularly in the financial sector?
So there is a lot of stuff that is happening. So as I touched upon earlier, like one big change is that the role of a financial analyst is changing. This is becoming more of a AI trainer. There are multiple statistics. If you go to any consulting firm's website, they will tell you, okay, 70% of the CFOs are either planning or have already implemented AI into some portions of their business. But these are small POCs, honestly speaking. But try to see on a larger scale how the business transformation will look like. So if I do not have any business exceptions, what do I call a business exception? Let's say I prepared an invoice, I tried to enter an invoice in my ERP system from a supplier, and the invoice is going through a cycle and somewhere getting stuck. So it is not getting paid on time, and due to which I cannot take the discounts that I agreed with that vendor, right? So what can AI do in this scenario? AI can predict what kind of challenges you will encounter in the life cycle of this transaction. AI can put some more weight into your profitability analysis, your financial planning analysis, your demand forecasting. AI can put a lot of weight in terms of eliminating your need to work on standard regularized journal entries. AI can do all of that. It's more like saying I am getting a partner, an assistant who can help me predict the future, and prevent those kind of situations from occurring which are happening today and hampering my business. So that's a very drastic change. If I take a very classic example, we did something in the space of uh, invoice processing itself for exception resolution. So 70% of the transactions where the exception was there, they were simply eliminated. Like those 70% transactions needed human hands to work on and a lot of coordination across multiple parties to work on. But they were simply eliminated because you put a prediction system in the advance at the right moment, at the right spot to say this kind of exception can happen. So you better reach out to somebody to get it resolved. It's a much more proactive approach. It brings that proactive approach to the finance and accounting function, which is very complex because there is a lot of back and forth happening with multiple parties. You are speaking to customers, you are speaking to suppliers, you are speaking to finance controller, you are speaking to office of the CFO, you are speaking to multiple different parties all at the same time.
Thank you
That's
so
where we
much.
are.
Thank you. How do you see emerging technologies like quantum computing and blockchain integrating with AI to enhance business solutions?
This is a killer of a question. Nobody is thinking about that. People are right now gung ho about the magic of AI, that I have a chatbot, and everybody is after these kind of LLMs, basically. So this LLM story has been oversold, but what you do not realize that this is just a tip of the iceberg. The use cases are much more bigger. AI can help you discover new strands of proteins. It can help you discover drugs. It can help you scale up your defense capabilities as well. There are like 1,000 different things. When it comes to quantum, try to see try to see it like this. So quantum works on qubits. Very recently, there was a quantum capability which was showcased to the world by China. This was called the system was called Xiaozhang. Okay, this was something like IBM Q, or you can say Google Sycamore, and into that category you can put it. So what a supercomputer would do in 5 years, this system was able to perform those computations in less than a second. So try to see scale, try to see the kind of computational capabilities you need for novel scenarios where past performance data is not available or is not even possible, for AI to learn, for AI to build those patterns or recognize those patterns. Quantum will be one such thing which will make AI more reliable. Why? Because right now you have a challenge of hallucinations, and it is not just with LLMs. There could be prediction errors with other systems as well wherever you are using them. These are called hallucinations. So it's a legitimate issue. It can make up things which do not exist. It can get into that bias. Now, if you curate your data, put very good guardrails, you can control it, you can regulate it to a certain way. Quantum will eliminate that challenge. Okay, so very large scale, if you're talking about, let's say you are doing the world population or you're doing some weather analysis, that's where the novel scenario, what you will encounter is not known. If you are doing some space research kind of stuff, what you are encountering, you do not know what is the unknown thing that will come in front of you. Quantum can give you insights because it works on qubits, and there is a thing called quantum entanglement, which is very interesting. As to two different qubits miles apart from each other will have a very strong probability of correlation. They will behave the same way. So it's a very interesting kind of a area. By 2045, there are analysts who are saying that, okay, AI can reach the point of singularity where everything will be like perfect in the world of AI and it can become very super powerful. But before that, I believe quantum mixture or a blend of quantum integration with AI will be a very strong capability for large scale and complex use cases where you need phenomenal amount of computational capability. Now, coming to blockchain, I touched upon it earlier as well. Blockchain was supposed to be the single version of truth, the distributed ledger without any lag in between, and a very open, regulated, federated environment kind of thing. Try to see it like this. So if I take the finance and accounting use case, if between a seller and a buyer, this kind of a federated environment exists, you do not need automation technologies because there are no exceptions. You do not need anything because it's a single version of truth. Whatever is presumed as order received is the same thing as billed, and the entire block changes the moment anybody tries to make a change, and only federated parties can make the change. Did it happen? It has not happened. At least in the last 10, 12 years since we know about this tech, it has not happened. But still, we are on the journey towards that with all the integration of platforms, with APIs, with the kind of integrations we are trying to build up. We are somewhere on the midway. We are somewhere on the journey. We are not building. We are not reached there. Now, try to see what blockchain will do with AI. Today, what is the biggest risk with AI that you see today? The biggest risk is data security, responsible AI, ethics, privacy. This is pretty much open source. Anybody can create anything, right? So if I can create an AI which can produce the probability of all different passwords you can have for your bank account, I can easily steal the money from your bank account, right? And it is possible even with quantum. This was even proven in some use cases how the encryption code was broken and those passwords were let open. It's Try to see it like this way: if we can use blockchain in order to regulate the development of AI, like only federated parties have the access to put a code which is usable and released to public. This entire challenge associated with all the different risks of AI, including AGI, will get resolved because you will have a single integrated governance in order to do that. So that's a very, very interesting, and I would say a very, very useful use case of blockchain mingling with AI.
Thank you. So, can you share a success story where AI significantly improved the client's financial operations?
There are many actually, but I'll give you a very, very base level example. And this has been a couple of years, even before OpenAI and all these generative AI wave became very rampant. So we had a kind of a requirement. We were bidding for a business for a client, and the idea was for their travel and expense related processes. So these travel and expense related processes had around 80 FTEs. So our idea of putting an artificial intelligence in the beginning as a kind of a smart, intelligent uh, kind of a bot over there, AI bot over there, was just to identify and sort. So this was the clustering sorting kind of AI that was there. The idea was to identify what are the high potential legitimate use cases to audit, because currently the method was we'll pick 5%, we'll audit it, and basis that we will deduce whether there is an error or there is no error, there is a potential for an or a fraud of a T&E fraud or not. Okay, so that was a 5% sample. So we put an AI over there. We took lesser sample but more accurate samples, and this ultimately led to reducing 70% of the workforce which was there. So this was a very classic example, and this was even before AI became mainstream and highly industrialized. This was still into a conventional AI kind of an environment, the kind we have been listening for decades, partly from James Cameron, sometimes from some other filmmakers as well, but we have not seen it. It's there are many such examples. At times there are fraud prevention AIs which are used, which are screening emails using natural language processing, Google's BERT algorithm,
Yeah.
which exists again since 2012 2013, I guess. And this BERT is more like the grandfather of today's large language models. So using those kind of algorithms and then using it to screen emails to identify whether it's coming from a legitimate source or it's coming, somebody is asking to change a bank account detail, whether it's coming from legit source or it's coming from a threat actor, and using some human orchestration along as a eyeball onto the recommendation. So we have many such examples, anywhere between, even with current times where you do not have too much trust in AI, so you have to put human eyeballs to watch the work of AI. Even with that, you have a 40 to 70% kind of productivity benefits and improvements that you can expect. Once it is highly trained and there are scale of transactions and it is let loose on its own, you can imagine what all can happen.
So, how can AI solutions be designed to remain scalable and adaptable to the diverse needs of the different businesses?
This is a very important question, and majority of the times, whether it is an innovation team or it is a product company, they are not looking at this question. This question is not there in their minds. There are diversified business needs even within the same industry and segment. Two companies do not operate the same. There is a certain context, certain lay of the land for a certain company to do business. They have made certain acquisitions. They have certain set of suppliers. They have certain processes. They are subject to certain compliances into the region, into the space that they operate with. People think AI is a plug and play game. It is not. In my view, it is not. AI is not like buying a light bulb from the market and putting it into the holder and switching it on. It is not. AI is more like a Lego game. You have the microservices, you have the diversified capabilities, you have the API integrations available, you have the all the different copilots, GitHub, and multiple different TensorFlow, PyTorch libraries available to you. AI is like building a Lego of your choice. How perfect you can build it, it's up to you. If you know your requirement, if you have a certain vision as to what outcomes you want to achieve from it, you can do it. Now, scalability is a factor of multiple different things. I would say infrastructure as well, very critical component. Infrastructure is not brick and mortar. People started thinking in industrial mindset as a brick and mortar. Infrastructure is more, once you are setting it up today, you can set it up in order to address your requirements of the kind of volume of transactions you want to run through it, your application for the next 5 years, next 10 years, how far sighted you are. That will get tested when you are making decisions about infrastructure. It's a factor of architecture as well. What kind of architecture you need? You need a lean architecture, you need an embedded architecture, you want to put it into your core system, you want to make it easy accessibility as a key factor, you want to train your people to do experimentation on it. What do you want to achieve? So starting up with a, I would say, a design thinking where you are identifying and laying out the key elements together and then linking them up with the goal of scalability and flexibility is something that can help you a lot. If you're spending, let's say, 2 to 3% of your budget on this kind of an exercise, it will justify the 97% that you will be doing later. Otherwise, the risks are very high. We already know like 70-80% of the digital transformation projects, what happens to them. 90% of the startups fail. We already know that. That's a known, that's mainstream. Why it happens, in my view, you have to spend that extra effort in understanding the business context and understanding the lay of the land, linking it with the growth rate that particular industry or that particular function is going through, and what kind of requirements will be there. Plus, spikes, try to see it. I am doing some sort of, let's say, if I'm into manufacturing some sort of consumer packaged goods, I'll have spike during Christmas time or festival season. Is my system capable to handle a load during those seasons or not? These are absolutely essential elements. Safety and security as an architectural element, it's an architectural layer, like privacy, data privacy, compliance, safety, security. You have to embed it from day one. It has to be an approach like you are building a fortress with 13 walls or 14 walls which are difficult. You have to think in terms of who all can penetrate and how all they can penetrate. You have to think like that. Put your red teams to task. That's the way to do it.
Thank you. So data security is crucial in AI applications.
Mhm.
How can companies ensure the integrity and protection of their data when using AI solutions?
It's a very interesting question. So I was just looking at some topics and see the risk today. We have an announcement from one of the largest companies across the globe that their next phone will have applied AI. I'm not naming the company for very obvious reasons, but the phone will have, the new phone that they are about to launch will have applied AI, which obviously they are using some other large language model, not their own. But try to see it like this. Who's monitoring that AI and what all that AI is monitoring in your phone if that phone is in your pocket? What kind of rights do you have in order to control that data? And I was watching this talk by Eric Schmidt, ex Google CEO. Very interesting one. He touched upon a topic which was very interesting and nobody is thinking on those lines. And that's the reason. People who are really aware, their insights are very, very valuable. So what he said was something like this, that today you build a custom GPT, a customized model for one purpose. Let's say I build it for managing my travels, my preferences. Today, somebody else built a custom GPT for similar purpose on the same platform. What if these two GPTs interact? Do you have a control on that? Will you get notified that your GPT is talking to somebody else's GPT? Or the recommendation it is giving me is coming from someone else's data and preferences, right? So Eric says it's the time to pull off the plug immediately from AI. His company is investing a lot into Gemini and Bard and all that stuff. And his immediate remark was, it's the time to completely pull off the plug from AI. Okay. So that's actually the risk that you have. So how do you control? So the biggest crisis has happened in your hand, your phone. What all it is capturing, where all it is capturing. Every time, at least 10 times in my phone, I say, ask app not to track, right? So what all is being tracked? Do you know that? That's the risk. Then I've always believed from a security standpoint, privacy standpoint, these kind of threats, we are as strong as the weakest link in our chain. And that's something that we always need to keep in mind, in my view. So what are the weakest link? Who are the people using shadow AI in your team? We used to talk about shadow IT. Now it is shadow AI. Shadow AI means I'm privately using AI in my work. It is not federated by my IT department, but I'm using it, using an office machine. What all it is accessing, what all it can monitor, it can see. Do I know? It's one thing. People send emails about awareness. It's another thing how much of awareness has penetrated in. So try to see it like this. With the advent of generative AI and the recent advancements, there is an insane level of creativity and I would say practically insidious level of creativity that has happened into your phishing attempts. They have become so sophisticated, it is very hard to see and say this could be a potential phishing email. It's very hard. I'm not sure how much you have experienced it, but from my experience, where I'm seeing it, it's practically unrecognizable. You'll not be able to say this is a legitimate email and this is an email which is a phishing attempt. So your likelihood of falling prey is very high. So in this kind of an environment, how seriously you will take the debate on privacy? Regulation can help. So like what EU Act is doing, it can definitely, it's a step in the right direction. But historically, my view is that we were very fast to innovate with technology, but very slow to put some regulation and governance around it. That's where we have erred, if I may say so. So the mistake has been just putting the governance in advance rather than putting it late. Putting the horses behind the buggy is not going to help.
Thank you. So, how do you balance the push for innovation in AI with ethical considerations and potential risks?
Another very interesting and relevant question. So, try to see it like this. Innovation, if left on its own, people will innovate all sorts of things. Okay. And that's what happens as well. Deepfake is a classic example. You can use this tech for some creative purposes as well. Let's say there is an actor who has passed, like something what happened recently. So recently Furiosa was released, and the original actor who played Immortal Joe was no longer alive. So you, rather than using an alternative actor, you can practically create a replica of that actor using AI and have the same effect in your creative piece of work. Or you can create an entire movie for the actors who are no longer alive. If you have a story which you want to visualize, and so it gives you augmentation. But try to see it like this: where it is being used, of putting some objectionable pictures of people and celebrities and all that. And that's why stifling innovation is not the way out. You have to put a platform and an environment for innovation in order for the world to get the benefit out of it, and make it more like a contest for business centric innovation. A lot of innovation is happening. People are experimenting in their own little ways. But what is the business centric innovation? I saw a very recent one where a kid basically used chat gpt, uploaded all his syllabi into chat gpt, asked chat gpt, now pose some of the most complex question papers basis this syllabi, and 60% of the time those questions appeared in his exam. Okay, so this is innovation, unregulated innovation.
Yeah.
But then the borderline, is it ethical, is it fair?
Yeah.
Right? Or it could have been regulated as well. Make it a part of the operating model, how you're delivering education. So that's the key aspect with innovation. Complete balancing act, it's going to be tough. And this is where the role of governments come into the picture. They have to play that balancing role. They have to pass those regulations in time. They have to be self-aware as to what kind of systems are needed in order to regulate it, and then put the money into those systems as well. It's not going to happen because these private companies, with all respect to all the private companies, there is a kind of an AI race right now. If I ask you list out the 10 players, you will have to do a Google search. Who are the 10 players on generative AI?
Sure.
There are so many. There are hundreds of players which are coming out.
Thank you. So, given your extensive experience in advising and researching in emerging tech, what advice would you give to startups looking to innovate in the AI space?
Another very good. I don't know who is writing questions for you, Tim, but these questions are amazing. Honestly, I must say. But this is a very good question. You have thousands of startups, billions of capital getting invested into them. What are they investing it into? I'll give you a very classic example of a good way of investment. So there were two high school kids from Colorado. Okay, they recently got a funding from a venture firm for $500,000 as part of a kind of a casual project. They built something and that was amazing. Okay, they build a API gen. So I am giving generative prompt to the system, to the software, and it is writing an end-to-end code for me to integrate two systems together. Now, see the business need. Everybody is talking about AI. People are talking about data, do not know how to integrate the data. Consulting firms usually charge anywhere between, I would say, $60,000-$70,000 to $120 to build an end-to-end API for you. Many different companies have different rate cards. That's all respected. But this is happening. Now see these kids, the kind of business innovation that they delivered. So they were not even looking for funding. They showed it to someone and they said, okay, let's speak to a couple of investors. I think this is something marvelous you have built up, because it addresses a business need. It creates a market for itself. What prompted these kids to achieve that kind of success, initial motivation? It's basically business context. So startups are putting AI, they are more about selling the technical capability to the world. They are overconfident about, we'll be able to sell it out. We'll be able to sell it out to the market. We'll be able to do marketing. We'll get some funding and we'll do events and we'll do everything. But is there a business need and a business context? Do you understand the business need? People are not looking for a 7-inch drill. They need a 7-inch hole. As simple as that. I feel a lot of the startups, I get approached by many startups every single day that we want to sell this, we want to do this, we can do this. They are quoting some statistics which is exciting but not inspirational. But the core problem is, do you understand the business that we are into? Do you understand what we do? The business context is missing. Your technical capability only matters when it is able to address a need of a business context. So my advice to startups is, educate yourself in business context very, very deeply. If there is one thing you have to take very seriously, it is this. And I know startups which exist in the world, Tim, you will not believe me when I say so. I know startups where 90% of the staff, and I'm talking about thousands of employees working in that startup, 90% of the staff, they do not know the basics of the process their product is supposed to address.
So, how important is collaboration between industry, academia, and government in driving AI innovation?
Absolutely critical. This is something which we are lacking across the globe. I'm not sure about certain regions where I have traveled less, but what I have seen is across the developed world as well, this is definitely lacking. These are not factories for producing graduates which will find a startup and be a incubator program or an accelerator program candidate later. No, try to see it like this. I am a corporation. I am a large corporation. If I am a large corporation, let's suppose, I have very complex area where is very high risk is there. Universities have that talent. Okay, governments must create and, I would say, incubate that mechanism by which I can go to universities and farm that talent and help and make them work in my innovation studio. I give them resources. I give them a safe environment that, okay, experiment. Even if it fails, nobody is after your life. And I'm going to give you the full marks for experimentation and whatsoever is the arrangement and setup. But there has to be a certain set of, because see, people who are in the workforce, they do not look at it that way. Their orientation is what they have done in the past. And if this was one of the challenges which could have come from the past, this would not have been a big challenge. But most of the times, there are situations where the challenge is big because it is completely novel, new, bespoke. It needs a response appropriately. And you need to create that response. You cannot create that response using the same methods that you used. My view is there are three circles. There is a common space, a very nice sweet spot between these three circles. So corporations, government, and academia. Very classic example. Very classic example. Few years ago, I read Mohammed bin Zayed University in Abu Dhabi. They did an experiment on AI, using AI for fake news identification. This was an AI university actually. So fake news identification. There was a very interesting use case. This is such a serious problem in countries where elections and all these kind of processes are there. Fake news is spread like anything. It can spread panic, and so much of content consumption people do every single day. People are spending 6 to 7 hours on their devices every single day, maybe more. But it is such a serious problem, and they did it on their own. It's a business idea by itself. If today I have to sell it across to the news portals and news channels to say this will make you more reliable in the world of generative AI, where me and you could be, anybody can create a video just by using our image, and we could be talking absolute nonsense using one of the text to video platforms. In this kind of a world, but what an incredible product this is, created by academia completely. No reference to anything. They must be having limited resources as well.
Thank you. So, as someone deeply involved in the AI field, what excites you the most about AI, and are there any aspects that concern you?
This is really a tough one. Concerning aspects, definitely the guardrails. Anyone has access to it. It's like this. When the nuclear technology was launched, was it made as freely accessible to people as the artificial intelligence today? So TensorFlow, PyTorch, I can access anything. If I know Python, I don't need to worry about anything. It's open source, right? I can do anything. I can be sitting in my bedroom and switch off the lights in your home just for the fun of it. So it's that kind of powerful technology, which is in one sense it is good because you are making it accessible. People will experiment, and that's how innovation will happen. But you need to see what kind of innovation is happening. So my concern area is that there are regulations which will completely be out there just to kill it, which is not the right approach. Or there will be regulations which will, or complete absence of regulations to say, okay, it's a free reign, let people do what they want, and once something goes bad, we'll decide what to do. But that is also not the right approach. You need a single concerted global exercise. It cannot work like that okay, US wants to do it, India wants to do it, Saudi Arabia is very excited to do it, but China says, okay, it will take me 2 years. So it's not going to work like that. You need a single concerted effort to put a regulatory framework, to put a governance mechanism around this. That is the concerning area. Now, what excites me the most? The sheer potential, what all you can achieve. So try to see. It's like 20 years ago, nobody could imagine that you'll be carrying something like a supercomputer in your pocket, which will be thin, and you can click pictures, you can connect to the net, you can find the information that you need, you can do anything and everything. Okay, that's our situation right now when it comes to the potential of AI technology. We might not need to carry a device at all, and there might be something which is very relevant, knows us the best, knows our recommendations, our preferences, like an assistant. We cannot get enough of it. We can use it so that we can focus on things that we enjoy, rather than the mundane. We focus on the activities which we value more. So it's a life change, and the role of technology and human will be inversed to some extent. Now, the risk in that environment comes in that it can get destructive, or it can get compromised, and it can tell me things that I should not be doing. So how much is too much? So that's where I believe the regulation part becomes extremely important, that it has to be regulated. You cannot have it you cannot have a free reign on it.
So, what advice would you give to individuals looking to build a career in the AI field, and especially those just starting out now?
If they are serious, they should invest a lot of time in authentic sources in order to do their research. Base their foundations on something which is extremely authentic. Facebook feed is not my source of information to know about AI. Google search, I would not even say. Even any chat GPT or any LLM, I'll not say this is not the place for me to know about AI. There is ample information available. I think one fine day I decided to give a prompt to ChatGPT asking, okay, build a curriculum for me. I don't have to spend a penny. And I know everything about artificial intelligence till date. And it was able to give me 19 different courses, including MIT, HBR. Harvard also has CS50, which is available. There are courses available from deep learning, multiple Google, multiple different sources are there. So there is no dearth of sources. It's about what you choose to uh, adopt in order to upskill yourself. That's the first thing. Second thing is, do not just remain with theoretical knowledge, just look at some perspectives as well, because this is what is going to help you. You might not need to sit on a computer and do coding 5 years from now. You might not be needing that at all. Maybe somebody is giving a voice prompt, this is what I need, and that thing will be coded out automatically, and there will be a code checker as well, right? So it's both ways. So currently, try to see it this way. Currently the entire world is getting crazy about marketing. You can use generative AI, send curated content. What if customers start using an AI to summarize and screen content as well? Because the other side can use it as well, right?
Yeah.
So it will be AI versus AI. So I would not say don't worry too much about what you need to prove as a test of skills. Try to see what you are building as a mindset. Do you understand this tech deeply as to what it can and cannot do, what it should or should not do? Do you have very clear positions on this kind of state? Then you are on the right track. And then get engaged, be a part of different communities. LinkedIn has got fantastic communities, and I think
Oh,
your community is also a superb one, especially for people who want to understand it from different dimensions, and you are taking experts from across the globe in order to be onto that platform. So kudos to you. That is also a great place to start. Listen to people, what is being talked about from AI. Listen to Mustafa Suleiman, listen to Alex Schmidt, listen to Satya Nadella, listen to Sam Altman. I might not agree with him personally on 90% of the things, but it is still, there might be something. Listen, there is so much of content which is freely available. So what you end up consuming, this can be a transformative technology 5 years down the line. I'm not saying even 10 years, 5 years down the line. We are at that cusp because it's accelerating very fast. Every single month, there are like 20 different items to catch up to. So you have to be on top of it. If you are serious, you can make it work. And that's all I will say.
thank you. So, what are your thoughts on the future of AI, but also with a particular emphasis on finance and supply chain sectors in the next decade or so?
See, there is a lot of confusion, I would say, when people talk about finance. So many people presume the investment world is the finance world. Okay, that is one part. That is just one segment. That is the outward segment as to where we are putting the money. There is a lot of innovation already happening onto that segment in terms of reading the stock markets, reading those trends, and still the stock markets are volatile, with all respect. On supply chain, it's a very interesting area. So biggest problem, there is no time. If I am informed today that my ship is stuck in Suez Canal, I do not have time to find an alternative supplier. I am dependent upon that supplier. Nobody could have predicted that this ship can get stuck over there. But AI can be omnipresent. You can have one single integrated AI platform which is talking about which is integrated with all the different systems of the world, with weather systems, with the logistics systems, with the network systems which are tracking the network of different vessels moving from one location to another. There was a conceptual probability of having known that in advance, and that insight was valuable. I think from a supply chain standpoint, if you also look at it, around 40% of the consignment cost is insurance. So insurance is there so that I can be covered if in case there are downside risks. What if I can predict those downside risks with a certain amount of accuracy? So you are moving into a lot of prediction zone in supply chain. When it comes to finance function internally for corporates that we were talking about earlier, again, I see a very intelligent predictive resource planning kind of systems emerging. So they have started with very very small nitty gritties right now, the ERPs of the world, because they are enterprise resource planning, which means it's a compute and storage story. Predictive resource planning is a prediction story. It is recommending you every single step of the way what is going to happen with your transaction. And then it is helping you decide, it is giving you decision intelligence right in that moment itself, that choose wisely. So wisdom is getting encoded for you. So that kind of capabilities are possible. People are too much excited about some base level automation capabilities right now. I understand. Sufficiently mature technology is indistinguishable from magic. I understand. Michael Moore was right. So, but you have to move forward, because otherwise you won't be able to scale up. In a volatile environment, in the kind of poly crisis we are into, you will not be able to scale up beyond a certain point. Your threshold will arrive very fast.
Thank you so much for a very insightful conversation, and looking forward to doing many more with you in the future. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much, Tim. It was an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and thanks for hosting. I mean, you have some very, very interesting, intriguing, and relevant things to ask in this show. I wish you all the best for the subsequent episodes.
Thank you so much. Take care then.
Thank you.